Prepare to be amazed as Los Angeles gears up for an Olympic Games unlike any other, promising 0 new venues and a revolutionary no-car experience. But can this sprawling city truly pull it off by 2028? With the Paris 2024 Olympics feeling like a recent memory, we are already halfway to the next Games in 2028, and Los Angeles has set incredibly ambitious targets. Not only will there be 0 new venues, but it's also positioned itself as a no-car event. This might sound surprising for a city like Los Angeles, which, despite its strong Olympic history, isn't exactly renowned for its public transit. So, what are the challenges facing LA, and can the city be ready in time for the summer of 2028? Hosting the Olympic Games has become an enormous burden, financially, socially, and environmentally. If Los Angeles cannot succeed, it will undoubtedly be even more discouraging for potential future host cities. Los Angeles ultimately agreed to wait an additional 4 years, shifting its focus from a potential 2024 bid to securing the 2028 Games. When Los Angeles was awarded the 2028 Olympic Games back in 2017, the situation was far from normal. Paris secured the 2024 Games at the very same event, marking the first time 2 host cities had ever been announced simultaneously. There were, however, compelling reasons for this unprecedented decision. It had become abundantly clear that the International Olympic Committee was facing immense difficulties in finding cities willing to host the Games. In fact, 4 cities bidding for the 2024 Games had already withdrawn their candidacies. By the time the decision was made in 2017, only 2 bidders remained, Paris and Los Angeles. Both were considered strong, reliable choices. Although Paris secured the 2024 Games, LA remained a strong contender and agreed to wait another 4 years in exchange for additional funding. This was a crucial incentive, as the 2028 Games are projected to cost around $7 billion. What made America's second-largest city such a good bet for 2028 wasn't merely the desire to avoid another awkward bidding round with a dwindling pool of candidates. It was the undeniable fact that Los Angeles had already successfully hosted the Games twice before. The first occasion was in 1932. Held during the Great Depression, these Games saw half as many athletes competing compared to Amsterdam 4 years prior. Yet, this didn't deter a then record-breaking 100,000 spectators from attending the opening ceremony. Fast forward half a century to 1984, and the Los Angeles Games once again saw fewer countries competing, this time due to a boycott by the Soviet bloc. Despite this, Carl Lewis famously won 4 gold medals, Michael Jordan was the top scorer in basketball, and, remarkably, the Games concluded with an actual profit exceeding $250 million. In 2028, Los Angeles will become the first city to host the Olympics 3 times, continuing a trend established by the 2 previous hosts. Both Paris and Tokyo prioritized reusing existing venues over constructing numerous new ones. This approach not only helped reduce costs but also prevented the expenditure of vast sums on massive arenas that could later become white elephants, a common issue seen with past Olympic facilities. While Paris set a high bar with 95% of its venues already existing, LA 2028 plans to raise it even further, proceeding without any new permanent builds whatsoever. This strategy is understandable, especially given that many of Los Angeles's stadiums require minimal modifications or have been recently constructed. Consider the brand new Intuit Dome, now home to the NBA's Clippers. It's no surprise that this state-of-the-art facility will host basketball. Dodger Stadium will, predictably, be used for baseball, and the Whittier Narrows Clay Shooting Center certainly won't be hosting dressage. While some venue choices are straightforward, others will be utilized in unexpected ways, and several require significant upgrades before they are ready for the 2028 Games. Take the magnificent SoFi Stadium, primarily built for NFL games and already slated to host FIFA World Cup matches in 2026, followed by the Super Bowl in 2027. However, in 2028, SoFi won't be hosting soccer or American football, which isn't an Olympic sport. Instead, fans will gather here to watch, surprisingly, swimming. This most expensive stadium ever built will be transformed into the largest dedicated aquatics venue in Olympic history, boasting 40,000 seats. While the precise details of this conversion are not fully known, it will obviously involve constructing a massive temporary pool in the center of the stadium, one that must be dismantled in time for the subsequent NFL season later that same year. This will be a monumental undertaking, but Paris demonstrated its feasibility. A similar temporary pool, built for the 2024 games, was constructed in just over a month. Implementing a similar solution at SoFi will elevate swimming to a much grander platform than during Los Angeles's last Olympic hosting. As one expert noted, "I liked the venue they had at USC, the University of Southern California, which they used in 1984. But they felt like it didn't provide the ideal environment." He added, "It probably makes sense from the standpoint of showcasing the Olympics and presenting Los Angeles in its best light on international television." The original plan was for SoFi to host both the opening and closing ceremonies, with the LA Memorial Coliseum handling the opener. However, plans have evolved slightly. The opening ceremony will now be co-hosted by both iconic stadiums. In fact, the Coliseum is another iconic venue slated for a significant transformation. Like most primary Olympic stadiums, it will also be used for athletics. There's just one problem. When it was upgraded in 1990, a significant amount of extra seating was added around the lower tiers. While this increased capacity, it left no room for an essential component of any track and field venue, the track itself. The solution involves constructing a temporary deck on the floor of the bowl, supported by an intricate system of props. This innovative structure will create the track and field surface, along with dedicated space underneath for athletes to complete their warm-ups. In total, over 40 venues will be spread across the vast city, stretching from Santa Monica to Anaheim, and Pasadena to Long Beach. As for navigating between these sites, given that this is Los Angeles, one might naturally assume visitors will simply arrive by car. However, according to Mayor Karen Bass, the plan is for people to do precisely the opposite. She stated, "The main push will be no cars to the venues," emphasizing that the Olympics represent a unique opportunity for transformative change for the city's future. For many who still consider Los Angeles a quintessential car-centric city, this idea might sound somewhat radical. Or perhaps not, because since Los Angeles last hosted the Olympics, the city has introduced a completely new mode of transportation, the metro system. In 1990, just 6 years after the 1984 Games, the city unveiled its first metro line, finally offering Angelenos the option to travel by rail instead of solely by road. It was something truly needed, with residents expressing sentiments like, "I can't drive my car for 3 months, so maybe I'll just ride this thing," and "We've been looking forward to this a long time." The opening day of the Metro Blue Line delivered on a promise, that over the next 2 decades, rail lines would emerge to link communities and introduce a new form of urban mobility. Was that promise kept? Fast forward a quarter of a century, and the network now spans well over 160 kilometers of routes across the city. While much of this development occurred years ago, significant enhancements to this infrastructure have been made since the LA 2028 announcement. As of June 2025, the rail system has finally been linked to the airport via the K and C lines. An automated people mover, also long awaited, is scheduled to follow in 2026. This will provide a direct rail link between the new Metro Transit Center and the LAX terminals. Another example of recent progress is the southern section of the former Blue Line, now designated the A Line. Extending from Compton down to Long Beach, this route received upgraded tracks, power lines, switching, and control systems in 2019. Then there's the East Side Transit Corridor, designed to link downtown Los Angeles to 4 of the so-called gateway cities in southeast LA County. The first phase, connecting Little Tokyo to the Atlantic Station in East Los Angeles as part of the E-Line, was completed in 2023. However, arguably the most crucial upgrade of all remains under construction. One expert highlighted, the project that is most critical, not only for the Games but for the future of Los Angeles, is the subway being built under Wilshire Boulevard. He is referring to the D-Line extension, which will run from Union Station, through one of the city's largest retail and commercial districts, and out to the west side. He explained, That's a high-capacity system in a very dense corridor, and it will move a ton of people much faster than buses can, and obviously much more effectively than cars. While the full route, with its 7 new stations, is not slated for completion until 2027, the tunneling phase concluded in 2024. 2 tunnel boring machines spent 5 years excavating the 14-kilometer new line, which is projected to carry approximately 30,000 people per day. An LA Metro board member described it as one of the most complex engineering feats the city's transport authority has ever undertaken. As workers excavated around 15 meters of tunnel each day, they encountered formidable obstacles such as gassy ground, tar sands, and abandoned oil wells. Thankfully, once operational, passengers will traverse this route much faster, traveling from downtown to West LA in less than 30 minutes. These extensive works are all part of the 28 by 28 initiative, announced by the city's former mayor in 2018. This initiative comprises 28 transport projects that the city of Los Angeles planned to complete in time for the Games, with a total estimated cost exceeding $26 billion. So far, approximately a third of these projects are already in operation. However, encouraging people to travel by rail isn't the sole objective. A no-car strategy doesn't imply the elimination of roads altogether, which would be impossible in a sprawling city like Los Angeles. Those who still insist on driving will be directed to park away from the venues or encouraged to travel by ride-share, bike, or scooter via one of the planned mobility hubs. For an event taking place not far from Silicon Valley, it's no surprise that digital tools are expected to be a crucial part of the solution to LA's logistical challenges. Beyond infrastructure, Los Angeles is also exploring innovative technological solutions to manage the Games efficiently. As one expert pointed out, the Games are not the ideal place to test new technologies, but now is a good time to test new technologies for the Games. And so we should be doing that. We have time to test some ideas that could be very useful. He gave an example: I am a big believer in on-demand transit. I helped set up the Metro microsystem here in LA, which is a microtransit provider. He believes microtransit has a role to play, at least in first/last mile services, if not more, for the Olympic Games. And we've already been testing that service. The primary alternative to private vehicles, however, will be a fleet of energy-efficient buses that officials hope to have operational in time for the Games. They plan to order more than 2,000 new buses and implement dedicated freeway lanes to ensure they are not delayed by traffic. One commuter enthusiastically remarked, "The bus is great, it's just great. Everything works great and it's cool, it's wonderful. No traffic. It is just wonderful." This strategy echoes the 1984 Games, where buses were essential for transporting people and preventing widespread gridlock. Yet, there is currently no guarantee that these buses will actually arrive, as their acquisition is contingent on federal funding, which has become a contentious issue. Los Angeles transit officials have requested more than $3 billion from the Trump administration. This funding would also cover other transport projects, such as a new system of fast lanes on the freeways, designed to expedite the movement of athletes and event workers across the city. However, while Congress did approve a substantial portion of funding in early 2026, it falls considerably short of the target figure, raising questions about when, or if, the remaining funds will materialize. This is particularly pertinent given that the U.S. president's relationship with both the mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of California has, at times, been somewhat frosty. One commentator speculated, if Donald Trump decides at a given moment that Los Angeles is misbehaving by his standards, he could, and he might well, tell the Department of Transportation, not $2 billion, only $2 billion, or whatever that number might be. He continued, what is Los Angeles going to do in that circumstance? Well, they're going to have to shift from the no-car games to the some-car games. This potential funding shortfall could partly explain why organizers now describe the upcoming Olympics as transit-first games, rather than no cars. This isn't to suggest a complete U-turn, far from it. Regardless of the challenges, public transit is still expected to be the primary mode of travel for attendees, and it is an achievable goal. As an expert emphasized, if you do the right kind of communication, discussion, and planning, and you put those alternatives out there, I think it is very possible. He offered a practical example. Just to give a quick example, I did some work recently for the Hollywood Bowl, which is a very famous and pretty auto-centric venue here in Los Angeles. He proudly stated, "We've got over 50% of people now going to the Hollywood Bowl by bus." He clarified, it wasn't a miracle, it was effective planning, making those buses work really well, and making parking cost what it should cost, which is a lot. He concluded, if you price parking and the roads effectively, and you put the transit service out there, it will be the most convenient option, and people will use it. However, several crucial infrastructure schemes have seen their completion dates pushed back to after the games. Phase 2 of the East Side Corridor, for instance, isn't due to complete until at least 2035, and even then, it won't represent the full line. This is one of 11 projects originally part of the 28 by 28 initiative that have had to be removed. They've been substituted with other schemes that are either already in progress or operational, and thus more likely to meet the deadline. Though this might sound concerning, it's perhaps not as dire as it seems, as many projects on that initial list were considered highly ambitious from the outset. An observer commented, "A lot of the projects in 28 by 28, I think were much more aspirational, kind of like, wouldn't it be great if we got this done? But not all of them were realistic." He added, "And I think the folks who were there at the time knew that." So, can we be confident that the LA Olympics, its venues, supporting infrastructure, and the event itself, will be completed on time, ensuring a successful Games? Will it once again come in under budget, or at least avoid significant overruns? Andrew believes the signs look promising, despite the political complexities, thanks to its robust ticket sales program, TV contracts, and sponsorships. However, he cautions that it still won't be easy. Andrew stated, "I'm hopeful they'll be able to come in on balance. But all I would say with regard to the no cars plan is that it does create some vulnerability, both in terms of the goals of the Olympics and in terms of the financing." Despite these challenges, there is still ample time for Los Angeles to complete these essential final projects and overcome any other hurdles that may arise. After all, this is a prime opportunity for America, and its second largest city, to once again prove its capability of hosting the biggest of shows. One local expressed, "I would love for the rest of the world to see how fantastic Los Angeles is. You know, people like to make fun of Los Angeles for being a place that is car-dependent and often vapid." He continued, "I think that those things have a grain of truth to them, but there's so much more to it that I'd love for the world to see, and this is our opportunity to show that."